rain is too much. Open the door. If you're cold, go and meet your parents in heaven. After 7 years, this is what I mean to all of you. Leave that door. You'll sleep outside like always. God, can you see what they're doing to me? Pray all you want. Nobody is opening this door.
What if I told you that the same hand that slammed a door in your face would one day beg you for forgiveness? That night, the rain was falling so hard it sounded like stones hitting the roof. I stood outside my aunt's house, soaked from head to toe, my fists banging on the wooden door until my knuckles bled. "Auntie, please, the thunder is too much. Please let me come inside," I screamed. But the only answer I got was the sound of the bolt locking from the inside. My name is Alicia. I am 19 years old, and for the past 7 years, I have slept on a torn raffia mat on the front veranda of my aunt's house, rain or no rain, mosquito or no mosquito, like I was not a human being. It did not start this way. When I was 12, my parents died in a road accident on their way back from Onitsha. I remember the day clearly. The white Toyota Hiace that brought my father's body wrapped in white cloth, my mother's photograph placed on top of the casket because there was nothing left of her to bury properly. After the burial, my auntie Beatrice, my father's younger sister, took me into her house in Ojokoro. Everyone praised her. Beatrice is truly a God-fearing woman, the church members said. She has taken in her brother's orphan. They did not know what was waiting for me behind those walls. From the very first week, I understood my place in that house. My cousins, Tracy and Junior, had a big room with a fan and a television. I had a mat on the veranda, exposed to mosquitoes, cold, and sometimes thieves who roamed the streets at night. When I asked why I couldn't sleep inside, Auntie Beatrice looked at me with eyes colder than the Lagos Harmattan wind and said, "There's no space inside. You manage outside. After all, where you're coming from, didn't you people sleep on mats too?" I was an orphan. I had nowhere else to go. So I swallowed my pride and managed. Every morning, I woke up before the cock crowed to sweep the compound, fetch water from the borehole down the street, and prepare breakfast for everyone, except myself, because there was rarely anything left for me. I washed Tracy's school uniforms, ironed Junior's shirts, scrubbed the toilet until my knees were raw, and cooked dinner while my cousins sat in front of the TV, laughing at cartoons. If neighbors ever asked, "Why does Alicia sleep outside?" my auntie would smile sweetly and say, "That's how she likes it now. She said the room is too hot for her." Lies, smooth, practiced lies that rolled off her tongue like she had rehearsed them in front of a mirror. But that night, that particular rainy night, something in my spirit told me this was different. The clouds outside were not normal clouds. They were black, heavy, angry, like the sky itself was carrying a grudge against a year of injustice. The wind howled through the zinc roof, lifting loose sheets and banging them down again with a sound like gunshots. I knocked again, harder this time. "Auntie, please, the roof. Please, the roof looks like it's going to fall. Please come outside, all of you, just for a moment." From inside, I heard Uncle Tunde's groggy voice. "Beatrice, who is that making noise outside?" And Auntie Beatrice's reply chilled me more than the rain ever could. "Don't mind that useless girl. She just wants attention. Ignore her and sleep." I want you to imagine standing outside in the rain, soaked to your bones, trying to save the lives of people who have treated you worse than a stray dog for 7 years, and being told to shut up and go away. That is exactly what happened to me that night. After Auntie Beatrice's voice faded back into silence, I stood there in the rain, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it over the thunder. Lightning flashed again, and this time I saw it clearly. a long crack running across the ceiling board inside the parlor, visible through the small gap above the front window where the louver glass was missing. Water was already dripping through that crack, forming a small puddle on the parlor floor, right beside the TV stand where Tracy's expensive plasma television sat. "God, please," I whispered, water running down my face, mixing with tears I didn't even realize I was crying. "Please don't let anything happen to them. Despite everything, please." That's the part people don't understand about me. Despite everything they did to me, the hunger, the cold nights, the insults, the lies, I never once wished death on anyone. I just wanted them to see me, to acknowledge that I was a human being too. The wind grew stronger, ripping a dustbin from its position and sending it crashing into the fence. Somewhere down the street, a tree branch snapped with a sound like a gunshot. I knew I couldn't stay where I was. The overhang I was sheltering under was directly beneath the sagging part of the roof. I grabbed my wet mat and ran. Across the street, there was a community shed, a simple structure with a concrete floor and an asbestos roof, used by traders during the day for their wares. At night, it was usually empty except for the occasional stray dog. I ran through the rain, my slippers slapping against flooded ground, until I reached the shed and collapsed against one of its concrete pillars, breathing hard, my whole body trembling from cold and fear. From where I sat, I could see my auntie's house across the street. The lights were still on inside. I could see the blue flicker of the television through the window. They were watching a movie, completely unaware, completely comfortable, while I sat in a public shed in the rain like a refugee. I don't know how long I sat there, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. The rain showed no signs of stopping. If anything, it grew heavier, the kind of rain Lagos people call akpa, the type that floods entire streets within minutes. I watched water rise around the shed, climbing up to my ankles, but the shed itself was on slightly higher ground, so I stayed mostly dry from the waist up, huddled in a corner. And then, around what must have been past midnight, I heard it. A sound like the world cracking open. It started as a deep groan, wood splitting under pressure, followed almost immediately by a thunderous crash that shook the ground beneath me. I jumped to my feet, my heart leaping into my throat, and turned toward my auntie's house, just in time to see a massive section of the roof, the entire middle portion above the parlor, collapse inward with a sound like an explosion. Dust, debris, and rainwater erupted from the opening where the roof used to be. I heard screaming, Tracy's voice high-pitched and terrified. I heard Junior shouting. I heard Uncle Tunde's voice booming, Beatrice, Beatrice, where are you?" And then I heard a sound that froze my blood in my veins. A long, agonizing scream from Auntie Beatrice herself, followed by silence. I stood there in the rain, frozen, staring at the cloud of dust and debris rising from what used to be my auntie's parlor, my mind unable to process what I had just witnessed. The house that had a roof too small to fit me inside had just fallen on the very people who locked me out. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button right now, because what happened next is something you will never forget, and trust me, you don't want to miss the conclusion of this story. I don't remember running back across the street. I don't remember how I got past the rubble at the gate. All I remember is finding myself standing in what used to be the parlor, ankle deep in muddy water and broken zinc sheets, screaming, "Auntie, Uncle, Tracy, Junior, where are you?" By God's mercy, none of them had died, but they were trapped. A heavy wooden beam from the collapsed roof had fallen across the doorway leading to the bedrooms, pinning Uncle Tunde's leg beneath it. Tracy was screaming from inside her room, her door blocked by falling debris. Junior had managed to crawl out through a window, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, shouting for help. And Auntie Beatrice, the woman who just an hour earlier had told her husband to ignore that useless girl, was lying on the floor near the kitchen entrance with a wooden plank across her back, unable to move, moaning in pain.
I didn't think. I didn't calculate who deserved help and who didn't. I simply acted. I ran out into the street screaming for help, banging on neighbors' doors. Please, help! The roof has fallen. People are trapped. Within minutes, Mama Ngozi, her husband, and 3 other neighbors came rushing out with torchlight and raincoats. Together, we walked through the night, lifting beams, clearing debris, pulling each member of that family out of the wreckage one by one. Tracy came out first, hysterical, covered in dust, her designer nightgown torn. Junior was bandaged on the spot by a nurse who used to be a nurse. Uncle Tunde's leg was badly injured, possibly fractured, and he was carried to a nearby clinic on a wooden door used as a makeshift stretcher. Auntie Beatrice had a deep cut on her back from the falling plank, and she had swallowed so much dust she could barely speak, only coughing violently as we carried her out. By the time the sun rose over Ojokoro that morning, the entire street had gathered outside what remained of my auntie's house. Half the roof was gone, the parlor was destroyed, Tracy's plasma TV crushed under debris, the new generator Uncle Tunde had just bought 2 months ago smashed beyond repair, family photographs and important documents soaked beyond recognition. And there, standing in the middle of it all, completely dry, completely unharmed, was me, Alicia, the girl who slept outside. Word spread through the street like wildfire. Did you hear? Beatrice's house collapsed last night. Everyone inside got injured except the girl who sleeps outside. She is the only one who is fine. People began whispering, pointing. Mama Ngozi, with tears in her eyes, said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is not ordinary. God has a way of exposing wickedness. This girl has been sleeping outside in rain and sun for years, while these people enjoyed comfort inside. And now look, the very comfort they refuse to share has fallen on their heads, while she who had nothing remains untouched." I said nothing. I just stood there, soaked, exhausted, staring at the ruins of the house that had been my prison for 7 years. But the morning was not done revealing its secrets, because as neighbors helped clear more debris, someone found something underneath Auntie Beatrice's mattress, something that would change everything. A small metal box, locked, with my late father's name written across the top in faded ink. The box was old, slightly rusted at the corners, the kind of metal box people used to keep important documents in the 90s. Written across the top in my father's handwriting I recognized immediately because I had seen it on old birthday cards he used to give me, were the words, "Engineer Michael Adeyemi, important documents for Alicia." My father's full name was Michael Adeyemi. I am his daughter, and this box had my name on it. Neighbors gasped. Mama Ngozi turned to Auntie Beatrice, who was lying on a mat outside, still in pain from her injuries, and asked, "Beatrice, why is this box hidden under your mattress, and why does it have your late brother's handwriting addressed to Alicia?" Auntie Beatrice's face went pale. For the first time in 7 years, I saw something other than coldness in her eyes. I saw fear. I was keeping it safe for her," she stammered. "She's too young to handle important documents." "Too young?" Mama Ngozi's voice rose with anger. "Beatrice, this girl is 19 years old. She cooks for your family, cleans your house, raises your children practically, and you're telling us she's too young to keep her own father's documents?" By this time, Junior, bleeding, bandaged, but apparently struck by sudden need to confess, spoke up weakly. "Mommy, should we just tell them? I can't keep carrying this guilt." "Junior, shut up," Auntie Beatrice snapped, but it was too late. With trembling hands and under the watchful eyes of at least 15 neighbors, someone broke the lock on the box with a hammer. Inside, wrapped in plastic to protect them from moisture, were documents, my father's life insurance policy, papers for a small plot of land he had bought in Ikorodu before he died, and a handwritten letter addressed to "my daughter Alicia, in case anything happens to me." The letter, dated just 2 weeks before my parents' accident, explained that my father had taken out a life insurance policy and bought a piece of land specifically for my future, in case anything ever happened to him and my mother. He had named his sister Beatrice as the temporary guardian of these documents until I turned 18, not as their owner, but as a caretaker, someone trusted to hand them over to me when I was old enough. I was 19 now. I had been an adult by Nigerian standards for over a year, and Auntie Beatrice had hidden this box, hidden my father's land, hidden my inheritance while making me sleep on a mat outside her house like a beggar. The crowd erupted. Ole, thief! She has been hiding this child's inheritance and treating her like a slave in her own father's name, someone shouted. Phones came out, recording everything: the destroyed house, the injured family, the box, Auntie Beatrice's stammering excuses. Within hours, the local Community Development Association chairman arrived alongside a representative from the area social welfare office, someone Mama Ngozi had quietly called that morning, it turned out, after years of watching what happened to me and finally having proof to back up her suspicions. Auntie Beatrice was questioned. Uncle Tunde, still in pain from his fractured leg, admitted he had known about the box but had been too afraid of his wife to speak up. Tracy cried and apologized, although I couldn't tell if it was genuine remorse or fear of what would happen to her now that everyone knew the truth. As I sat there, wrapped in a dry shawl someone had given me, holding my father's letter in my trembling hands, I felt something I hadn't felt in 7 years. I felt seen. If this story has touched your heart even a little bit, please don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that justice always comes, sometimes when you least expect it. 3 weeks later, I sat in the modest but warm living room of my father's older cousin, Mr. Clement, a man I barely remembered from childhood, but who, upon hearing what had happened, traveled all the way from Ibadan to find me. "Alicia," he had said, holding my hand with tears in his eyes, "I am so sorry it took this long. I didn't know. Nobody told me what Beatrice was doing to you." Mr. Clement, a retired school teacher with kind eyes and gentle voice, took me in without hesitation. For the first time since I was 12 years old, I slept on an actual bed, in an actual room, with a door I could close and lock from the inside, not to keep myself trapped, but to keep myself safe. The land my father had bought in Ikorodu was transferred into my name with the help of the social welfare and a lawyer Mr. Clement hired. The life insurance payout, which Auntie Beatrice had never even attempted to claim, probably because doing so would require involving lawyers who would ask too many questions, was finally processed. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to enroll me in a vocational training program for tailoring and fashion design, something I had always secretly dreamed about while sewing torn clothes for Tracy all those years. As for Auntie Beatrice, the Community Development Association, backed by the Social Welfare Office, launched a formal investigation into years of child neglect and exploitation. Several neighbors, including Mama Ngozi, gave statements about what they had witnessed over the years. While Auntie Beatrice was not sent to prison, there wasn't enough for a criminal case beyond the documented neglect. She was made to publicly apologize at a community meeting, something that for a woman as proud as her was perhaps a punishment worse than prison itself. The story spread throughout Ojokoro and beyond. "Did you hear about Beatrice? The girl she made sleep outside for years, that's the same girl whose father left her land and insurance money, which Beatrice hid from her. And the night it rained, the girl was the only one untouched while the whole family got injured when the roof collapsed." People called it karma. Others called it the hand of God. I simply called it the night the truth could no longer stay hidden. The rain didn't just fall that night. It washed everything away and gave me back my life. If this story moved you even a little bit, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that no matter how dark your night feels, your morning of justice is coming. Thank you for watching Raina Tales.